Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to continue on with this kind of Swedish mini-series that I'm doing for you across December, and today we're actually going to return to a Swedish gypsy brewery who are really highly rated and with very good reason, I must add. So today we are going to return to Mohawk Brewing Co, and as you can see, very shiny bottle, this one. This is their Xmas Dubbel beer, and it comes in at 7%, and as you would guess by the name, it is a Belgian style Dubbel. So really quite looking forward to this one. This one is one that they've just released. It only came out a few days ago, and I bought it from the Systembolaget here in Lund. I'm actually having to balance the bottle on a few coins just so that it doesn't really shine while I'm filming this video. But anyway, as is usual with my beer reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery. If you do want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual website links are in the video description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Mohawk, and I will add more in the near future incidentally, and there's also the links to all my social media stuff, the Facebook page, the Twitter account for the channel, and also the Untappd profile as well. So please feel free to connect with me in whatever way you wish. Always interesting to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and to my Swedish viewers, please do recommend some other Swedish beers you'd like me to have a look at. But anyway, first of all, we shall tell you about Mohawk Brewing Company. So Mohawk Brewing Company describe themselves as a virtual brewery, and basically that kind of means they're a gypsy brewery, so they use the extra brewing capacity at various other companies rather than having their own brewery. But it was founded in 2010 by Stefan Gustafsson, who had been working commercially in brewing for a few years but had been a home brewer for a very long time. And he actually started home brewing because he was a poor student, and also because the range of beers that were available in Sweden were very poor at the time that he was studying. But he was later inspired to actually go full time with Mohawk Brewing after seeing the success of the gypsy brewers Mikkeller, who obviously are based over the water in Copenhagen. But now these beers are a regular at Systembolaget, which is the nationalised beer shop in Sweden, and they're distributed throughout the country by Wicked Wines. And I think very soon you'll start to see the Mohawk Brewing Company beers exported further abroad. Most of them are made at the De Proefbrouwerij in Lochristenhoofd near Ghent in Belgium, which is where Mikkeller and Toul make a lot of their beers. Amongst other people, that brewery in Lochristenhoofd seems to be very good for these gypsy brewers to go to. So you will see some very exciting things from Mohawk Brewing Company. But just to list the other beers you can get from these guys, as far as I can tell, this is their core range. So they've got the Citra, the Anything Goes, which is the one I reviewed for you before, Unfiltered Lager, Brown is the New Brown, Black Rocket, which is a porter beer, and also the American Barley Wine beer. And they've also got various seasonals. They've got a Blizzard, which is the Imperial Porter, Snow Melter, which is an Imperial Stout, and also Whiteout, which is an Imperial Stout. And they seem to release really random beers throughout the year. They've got 4 beers that they've released for this Christmas. They've got an Imperial Stout, which I think is maybe the Whiteout. They've got this guy, the Dubbel Xmas. They've also got a seasonal brown ale that I've got in the cupboard there for you. And they've also got one that's midwinter. I think it's called Midwinter's Dark, but in Swedish. And that's a dark lager beer, if I'm not mistaken. So you'll always see interesting releases from Mohawk Brewing Company. But anyway, without further ado then, let's actually get stuck into this beer. So as I told you, it's a 7% Dubbel beer, and unlike the other ones on the website, they actually don't have the malt base and things listed on this one. So I'm kind of tasting this one a little bit blind. I always usually like to talk about what hops and malts are in these beers, but unfortunately with this one, I couldn't find it out. I looked through the website and this beer wasn't even listed on there, and the Systembolaget description didn't have it either. It was just telling you what sort of flavours to expect. But I'll just let you have a little look at this guy through the camera before we open it up there. As I'm saying, I'm having to tilt this forward because it is really shiny off the screen of the computer. So as you can see, quite simply presented, and this is the typical style for all of these Mohawk Brewing beers. They're all just different colours, and some of them have a more kind of papery label, a more matte one, whereas this is a kind of satin finish that's on this one, or a kind of glossy finish maybe. But as you can see, this one has the Mohawk Brewing Company bottle cap on it, which the other ones incidentally didn't have. They just have a plain bottle cap as far as I know. But yeah, 7% Belgian Dubbel beer, and without further ado then, we'll get stuck into this guy and see how we get on. So yeah, as you can see, a nice smoky opening on this beer, so we'll get it out and into the glass. I was actually, before I started filming this one, I was getting a little bit annoyed because I couldn't figure out where the light was reflecting off the bottle from for this one. So I actually just played with it and put these little coins down here and figured that if I can balance the bottle on that, it doesn't shine so much off the camera. So quite an ingenious year. That's my engineering for the year. I'm a scientist, a chemist and a physicist, so that's my engineering feat for the year, I have to say. So as you can see, this beer is poured a really nice kind of dark mahogany colour actually. If I bring the light down like this, you can see really nice dark mahogany colour. If I put it over there, it does have a good red tinge to it, and I can see that you're seeing that on the camera, but it looks really nice. There's a couple of big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, and I'm not sure how well you can see it, but there is a level of transparency to this beer. If I put my fingers, you put it behind the light and put your fingers behind it, you can see them through it, but you're probably not going to be able to see that on the camera. And there was a kind of quarter finger of a very thin sort of beige foamy head, but that's gone away to be a very, very thin layer now. But a very, very attractive looking beer, I have to say. Quite a few little bubbles just going up towards the bottom of the surface there, but otherwise it's actually quite tame looking, just a few bubbles of carbonation, but it looks very nice. Nice dark sort of rosewoody mahogany colour, I would say, chestnut mahogany maybe as well. Very attractive looking beer. So let's have a look at the aroma of this one before we open it up, or before we have a go at it. Yeah, as you would expect from the Belgian Dubbel beer, there's a nice red fruity character to this one. This one to me smells quite boozy actually. You can smell some of the alcohol characteristics from this one. But yeah, as is typical with the Belgian Dubbel style, there's a lot of big bready yeast in there. Lots of that nice kind of sweet Belgian yeast. And a big kind of brown bready character coming out of it. You can pick up a little bit of a chocolatey note, I would say, but that's quite mild. The more prominent component of the malt base really is the kind of dark, slightly roasty caramel in there. And it's actually got a little bit of a kind of medicinal note to this one. Kind of a big boozy medicinal note coming out of this beer. But there's some nice red fruits as well. As I say, the red fruits in this one are really quite prominent. Some kind of nice dark figgy plum sort of thing, maybe some raisins as well, a little bit sharper, but there's a big candied fruit note. It always reminds me of the sort of the Haribos. I always mention this when I've got beers, dark beers like this. The kind of red fruity esters that you get out of this beer, they usually remind me a little bit of the kind of heart sweets that you get from Haribo. They've got that similar kind of smell. But yeah, a big medicinal kind of boozy note coming out of this one as well. So just as I always say with these beers, give them a good smell before you actually drink them. But without further ado, let's get stuck into this guy. So this is the Xmas Dubbel, Christmas Dubbel beer from Mohawk Brewing Company, who are based in Sweden. I think it's up in Täby these guys are based. Skål! That's really nice actually. Actually very light in the mouthfeel for a Belgian Dubbel style, so it's a nice kind of sessionable beer actually. Before you start picking out the flavours, as I always say, just sugar the beer around your mouth a little bit. Yeah, but the flavour is much what you'd expect from the aroma, and if you know the style, it has all of the elements in the beer. I think the bready character of this is actually quite nice, and that big boozy note that I was picking up in the aroma, not so apparent in the flavour. I was expecting it to be quite kind of caramel forward, really quite boozy, but it's actually really nice and really bready, and there's a little bit of there's a very kind of nice medicinal flavour in there as well, but it's not boozy in the slightest. This is a very easy drinking Dubbel, I think. But yeah, that nice bready character just blankets the middle of the tongue there. It's a nice, quite sweet brown bready character, and the yeast in this one is interesting as well. Not the most prominent yeasty component. You can taste it in the middle of your palate, and there's a little bit right in the middle of the tongue. You can taste that big sort of fluffy, doughy, bready, yeasty character there right in the middle of the tongue, but it just, the sweetness, the kind of almost brown bread sweetness just spreads out a little bit right across the tongue there. Really nicely done, that aspect of the beer in my opinion. One of the best sort of Dubbel malt bases that I've come across actually. I want to say that there's a bit of a nutty or woody flavour to this beer as well. Really quite an interesting infusion within that little malt base there, and that medicinal character I think is mixing with the sort of woody aspects of the beer as well. You can feel it like right in the dead centre of your tongue. There is maybe just a little hint of chocolate in this as well in the middle of the palate, but not too much. I think that the sort of medicinal flavour in this one is dominating along with the nice big bready malt base. Even the caramel in this I don't think is too prominent. It's really this kind of medicinally flavour that just sits right in the dead middle of the tongue. Around the edges of the palate as well, it's actually very smooth and there's not too much going on there. Yeah, around the edge of the palate, the back corners, there's just a little bit of earthiness in there. And as you move further forward, it becomes very, very smooth. If there's any hoppy characters to this beer, very, very smooth around the edges of the palate. And if you go behind the front curve of the tongue, just behind it a little bit, there's a nice kind of oily mouthfeel in there, and that's where these fruity esters are coming out. To me, it's coming across as a bit more of a candied fruit aroma and sort of figgy. There's not some of the sharper flavours that you would expect of the sort of raisin or plum things in there. It's really quite a smooth kind of candied fruit ester, this one. Yeah, I would stick with that fruit, sort of figgy flavours and candied fruits in this one, not really any of the sharper raisins or figs. But yeah, in terms of the mouthfeel of this one, I would say it's quite mid-bodied. For me, it's actually quite light in mouthfeel in comparison to some of the other actual Belgian Dubbel beers that I've had. So it's quite nice in that regard. They take all the components of the flavour are there. But apart from perhaps the caramel, there's not so much in the way of caramel in this flavour of beer, I think. This is more of a bready and kind of medicinally Dubbel beer, but it's really nice actually. It's very, very sessionable. The carbonation is very, very smooth in this one, but it comes across with quite an oily mouthfeel. A big kind of malty character, as I say, that big kind of brown bready and slightly doughy yeasty flavour in there is really nice. There's just a little bit of alcohol warmth as well, not too prominent as I was saying. This is quite a light and quite a sessionable Dubbel beer, but it's got just a little bit of juicy fruity character in there as well. But overall, to me, this is a really, really nice beer, quite different from the Belgian Dubbel beers, if you like, the actual Belgian ones, but really nicely done, and the flavours in this blend together very, very well for me. So if you enjoy a Belgian Dubbel beer and you want a kind of version of it that's quite nice and quite light and quite drinkable, I would recommend that you have a go at this. I've really quite enjoyed it. But as I always say, beer is subjective. I think this is a really nice example of a Belgian Dubbel style, and it's quite different from the ones that you'll actually get from Belgium as well. So I would say that it's definitely worth trying. But anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this beer review. It's been really cool to do another one from Mohawk Brewing Company. Really interesting brewery, I think, and it's cool to have a gypsy brewery from a country that isn't Denmark, if that makes sense. Nothing wrong with the Danish ones, but it's just cool to see that this is going on in other countries as well. So really quite cool actually. I would recommend that you give this brewery a go. But I thank you for watching my beer reviews. As always, let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below if you do happen to have tried it. I thank you for watching my beer reviews, and until the next one, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Please follow the channel. I thank you for your support once again, and there will be more coming from Mohawk Brewing Company. Slàinte just now.